What's up, guys, and welcome back to the 90s Kid Podcast. I am your host, Lynn, with your co-host, Mark. Mark, how are you doing today? Coming off the heels of our first ever episode.
Doing great. I loved listening back to our first episode. I had so much fun doing it, and I'm excited to get into episode 2.
I feel like I listened to it like 30 times over.
Oh, I listened to it so many times. I had it on my dual screens. I was playing a game and listening to it. I was just listening to it on my phone. I listened to it so many times.
Oh, I did too. And then I at one point I was even in the car and realized it was still playing. So when I connected the Bluetooth, I was just listening to myself. Listening to
absolutely.
us talk back and forth. Why not?
Absolutely.
I sent it to everybody. Everybody listened to it.
Oh, I sent it out. As soon as I got those links, I sent it out. It was like sent it out all over all my socials, my Discord. I was just like, everybody listen.
Yeah. And I feel like we got pretty good feedback too. Do you feel like you did? I feel like one of my really good friends, and I'm going to shout him out for a second, Dennis, was listening to it and he was like, I loved you guys talking about all the TV shows. He's like, because I still sit and watch so many of them because the stuff on TV today is like shit. And
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You're right. And then we went down this whole little reminisce of, Three's Company and all these other shows that were, I could still talk about again.
It's great. I got some really good feedback from my cousin Mike. I also got some good feedback from my good friend Carmine, so I'm going to shout them out.
Ooh, shout out.
He my friend Carmine, he's a bit younger than us, so he was like, it's very interesting and intriguing to see the difference on how you guys grew up in the early 90s and like 2000s to like when I grew up. So it was very interesting for him to say that and to see the contrast of everything. And so that was my big takeaway from my good friends. So
good. And we appreciate you guys listening to it and supporting us through our first episode and hopefully many more episodes to come. With that being said, there's definitely a topic that I feel like I want to jump right into that is relatable to not just you and I, but everybody. So I want to take a little time to recognize mental health because I know I personally struggle with it. And I mean, who isn't these, in this day and age, but I feel like it's one of those things where sometimes you get so wrapped up in taking care of other people that we don't take time to take care of ourselves. And I know for me in my personal life, I always feel like I have a million other people to take care of. And I get so neglected and I get with my own self and I get burnt out. And then you get angry and then you reflect out on other people. And so I just want to take time, I feel like, talk about that today and, get your thoughts on it too. So what about you, Mark?
Oh, no, absolutely. I'm one of those people that no matter what, I consider myself last. I will put my friends, my family, all before me. And 90% of the time, I'm totally fine with that. I hate attention on me to begin with. I would much rather help you through your situation and help deal with like problems that are serious to you. And I'll put myself and my issues on the back burner, and I'm fine with that. Yeah. And it gets to a point where it bottles up a little too much, and then there's usually an explosion, unfortunately. Oh, yeah. But I'm definitely one that is like, no, I don't want to be a burden to anyone else. Let's what's going on with you? I want to talk about what's happening with you. Like, let's do that instead of focusing on me at all. That's one of my biggest issues, and I'm trying to work on it because I realize
it's hard.
It is, because it's hard to really focus on your own issues just because you have so many other people that you would rather help them, and you kind of just put yourself, like I said, to the back burner.
And I feel like with me sometimes in that situation too, I feel like I get frustrated in a sense where sometimes I feel like, well, when is it my turn to vent or to complain? Because I feel like sometimes we have people in our lives that we feel like we are closest to, but when it's our chance to vent or complain, it ends up the opposite. And I feel like they tend to sometimes get upset because you're upset And I feel like for me in my life, that's very frustrating because if everyone else is allowed to have a bad day, when am I allowed to have a bad day? And so you
Absolutely.
just kind of bottle it up until you have a major breakdown one day. And I'm not like a big crier, but sometimes you just gotta cry it out. I feel like, and that's how you relieve your own stress because you don't have anyone you feel like you can talk to a lot of the times.
So I will say, I fortunately, I am the opposite. I have tons of people who see me struggling and they want
Mhm.
to talk to me, but I close down
Yeah.
and I don't, because I don't feel the need to burden anyone else with my issues when they have their own. And that's the biggest thing that stops me. So I have those people and they really want to try. Like, I have multiple friends that see me going through something and they know because I can't hide my emotions very well. Like, I wear it very much on my face. So
Yeah.
they know pretty quickly if something's wrong, and they'll be the first ones to reach out. And I do the typical, no, I'm fine, I'm good. Like,
I think that's
that's
always me too. I feel like even I tend to do it with online friends, but then I also sometimes find it easier to lay it out all out on the table and just spill everything out. Sometimes to people I feel like that you don't even know very well because I feel like they're almost a neutral third party. Like they're not going to judge you. They're not going to have some kind of, smart comeback or just get over it. You'll feel better later. Sometimes you can really just get everything out there to someone who just truly will listen to you.
100%, 100%. It's hard to, and as wrong as this is, and how it
Mhm.
should be the complete opposite. To me, it's hard to be that vulnerable to
Yeah.
the people around you, the closest people around you.
Yeah.
Um, I always felt, and this was a burden I put on myself. It's not like anyone put it on me. It was something I put on myself, and I've done it since I was a kid. Um, I felt like I had to be almost the strength, in a
Right.
word, of, like, in emotional situations, like, high, like, you could deal
Yeah.
with your own emotions at another time. Other people
Right.
are hurting. You need to help them and be the rock for them. And I got
Yeah.
that from my father because I saw him, like, growing up. Of course, when you lose someone, it's difficult. And I always noticed my father
Absolutely.
was being the rock for the family and everything. So I really saw him and, wanted to be that.
Yeah.
And I really felt like I needed to be that when my grandfather passed, which was his father, because he couldn't be that anymore. This
Right.
was his own father. Like, he had his own emotions, but it really took a toll on me because I felt like I needed to be that rock, even though nobody like expected that from me. Nobody asked me to do that. I just
Yeah.
felt like I needed to, but it took a serious toll on me. And behind closed doors, it was a real struggle, and I wanted to keep that under wraps as much as possible
Right.
because of the situation. But eventually, it kind of all boiled over, and that's something that you really should try to avoid,
Right.
only
Yeah,
because
because
that
sometimes
boil
it can
over.
escalate to a scary place, I feel.
Oh
And
yeah.
I've always been one of those people too. I feel um like I said, we're not really that great at necessarily showing our emotions. So I'm one of those people that when some of the closest people in my life passed away in front of no one, I would shed a tear at all. And then I'd feel like maybe, I mean, and everyone processes it differently, but me, it could be a day or two later, and then I'll finally break down about it. But I feel like I just try not to show certain emotions in front of people,
Mm-hmm.
which again isn't necessarily a good thing, but I think sometimes it's our way of just putting up that barrier of protection, almost even if we don't necessarily need it. And then I want to talk a little about this too, because I feel like it's even, I mean, women were known to be emotional creatures sometimes, right? But I feel like for men, you guys almost have it twice as bad because people, so many people tell you guys, you just tough it out, and it's no big deal, sweep it under the rug. Or you have a lot of women even that you're afraid to be that emotional in front of a woman because is she going to think less of you because you're in this emotional state? And so, I mean, obviously, I cannot relate to that aspect of it, but I mean, how do you feel about that?
So it is hard. It is hard, and it kind of plays back into that role that I assumed. Because, like I said, nobody asked me for that, but it's something that I felt that I saw my father do, and I was just like, oh, okay, so this is how I'm supposed to act, and it really it hurts. It hurts almost because you see everyone else letting out their emotions, but you put this honestly an unrealistic like expectation for yourself of like this is what you have to do in these situations, but really you're hurting just like everyone else is, and to just express that hurt will save you from honestly more pain in the long run.
Right.
But it is a factor of like, what will people think of me? Will people think I'm less of a man for doing that? But but like I said,
which
that's
shouldn't
mostly
be the case. And I think I feel like that's very heartbreaking almost because, you know, I feel like that puts so much extra pressure on you guys as men because already I feel like a lot of women, even in today's age, are still at the point where they just want to be taken care of. And it's just, they put themselves first. So having your emotions on the table like that sometimes isn't even an option. And I feel like that is so unfortunate. And it's just very sad.
Absolutely. But I will say a lot of the times, it is mostly a stigma that men have put in their head. Because don't get me wrong, I know there are people out there that will look at you weird, but those are the people that you don't need in your life. The people that you need in your life are the ones that can see you as vulnerable.
Absolutely.
But also know that like when things get hard, you can still be that rock. But however, your feelings and your vulnerability have a weight to it, and it is a weight that can drive any person, man, woman, to a really bad place. So to hold on to that weight is definitely a scary thing in the long run. So there has to be a time and place that I don't care if you're the toughest man out there, you have to have that time and place to release that weight, and it can come in many different ways. Some people talk it out, some people cry it out, some people work it out and like
yell it
hit
out.
the gym, yell it out, like, but it has to be released in a healthy way. Because like I said, if you let it bottle and it just burst and it's an unhealthy release, a lot of people can be affected by that, and it could end up way worse than where it was in the beginning.
I agree. And I think we touched a little bit on this in a different aspect in our first episode where we talked about social media and, you know, some of its negative effects. But I think in this aspect, it has a lot of positive effects on social media because sometimes we meet some of the best people we've ever met. And unfortunately, they live, you know, halfway across the world and states away. And I feel like I have met so many amazing people that I've been able to talk to that have kept me company in so many different situations. And I am so thankful for social media for that. Yeah, you too.
Well, me too, but it's a real funny thing that I mean, we met over, so like this wouldn't be a thing if
without social
media. And so you're 100% right. Social media does has its perks, and it is sometimes a very wonderful place where people from all over the world can get connected and help through honestly really tough times. There are tons of support groups. There are tons of like group like pages that help with a lot of traumatic that people have gone through, that similar stories. And so you do get to see the bright side of social media every once in a while, and you really need to hold on to those to really kind of balance out all the bullshit that's on social media as well.
Oh, yeah. And I feel like you and me, we're both gamers. That's no secret. I think we touched on that a little bit too. And it has been so fun. I mean, you've joined me in games. You got me into Dead by Daylight, so many different things. And I feel like it's such a good, it's such a good outlet though for us to be able to spend time with people. And sometimes it's just a good distraction and gets you out of your head to just sit down and play a couple rounds with some of your closest friends. So
absolutely. So I was gonna ask, like, especially now with the gaming
Mhm.
and how available everything is, like, I know for me, gaming is a huge stress relief, even though you can rage at a game. But
Oh
like,
God. And don't we know it?
oh yeah, but like,
I know some people.
do you feel that same like release almost that like
Mhm.
you can get on with your friends and just like enjoy? Maybe it's just for an hour or two because we
Yeah.
all
And
have
just forget about
lives
the world.
and we're adults, but we can kind of like forget about that for a good
Yeah.
hour or two. Is that like how you see online gaming or gaming in general at this point?
I do, because again, I feel like I just said it gives you a little bit of a moment where you just feel like any of the day's worries or stuff that's coming up, you can just forget it in that moment or that hour and just really enjoy being with your friends and in the company of other people. And that's what I really love about it the most, is that it gives me a break in a day that I usually don't have one. So I always look forward whenever I get a chance to sit down and play games with everybody.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I 100% prefer multiplayer games
Oh yeah.
to because like don't get me wrong, some solo games are like they're fun for a little bit, but I miss that interaction
Yeah.
with your friends, like a really cool moment and the whole like party chat erupts, or
Oh
like
gosh.
you do something really dumb and the whole party chat erupts.
Is
So
dogging on you about it?
yep.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
those moments, it almost takes me back to when I was a kid and like you were playing with your friends in the schoolyard,
Mhm.
and like those same
Yep.
interactions would happen. And so, what are your takes on like when? Because the whole stigma from when we were growing up is
Yeah.
that you play too many video games, like you'll be antisocial, and like
Yeah.
I really feel like that's the opposite. What is your take on the whole gaming antisocial?
I think it's made us more social because we are reaching out in so many different directions to so many different people. So no, I think it's made us more social. I think back in the day, I understand that part of it because we weren't so much on the computer. We were just out, supposed to be out with our friends, hanging out. That I get. But I feel like in today's age, no, it's made us more social and more available to other people and people that we necessarily wouldn't be friends with if we walked out the door, because we wouldn't maybe give them a chance, or we think, oh, this person's not so great. But online, it gives you this chance to just sit down with random people and sometimes have the time of your life. And I
Oh,
think it's like the
100%.
greatest thing.
100%. It's so much fun, and like you were touching on the topic of meeting people that you would never meet in your everyday life.
Right.
I know back when I was streaming, I met people from North Carolina to like Texas, like all these different
All over. Yeah.
places, and it's just so cool that you can find common ground with these people because they're playing a
Yep.
game that you stream, and they want to get involved, or they love just your energy that you bring,
Yeah.
and it's just such a great place and a great platform that streaming has evolved to. So
And I
I'm
think not only is it a good thing for us, but I think it's very beneficial to other people as well. It goes back to saying, you just never know what someone else is going through or what their day has been like. So them, even if you feel like you're not in the mood and someone's bothering you to play games, but that could be them just needing that time and that outlet to just not
really
think about
reaching
the
out.
world. And I think I don't even think about that sometimes because I'm like, I don't really want to play. But then you find out a couple days later, oh, they were going through a really tough time. So maybe they needed that. So I think in the future, it will even make me even more aware of maybe they just need that time, but they don't necessarily want to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. But I will say, so you kind of touched on this.
mhm.
So back in the day, if you were a gamer back in the day, you didn't have online games,
Yeah.
but there was nothing like having your friends over and playing a split screen game that you were either trying to beat for the first time as a
Mhm.
group, or honestly just to settle some beef on.
Ooh. Did you have a lot of beef with a lot of people?
You know what it was? It was just like, I think the green Power Ranger is better than the red Power Ranger. Oh yes,
Oh.
see me in 007 GoldenEye, and like that was the deciding factor. Or it was just like almost bragging rights. Like, I bet I
Yeah.
can beat you in Mario Kart, and it was just on from there.
I love that you
And
say Mario Kart. I do. I was like Mario. It's
Mario.
me.
It's a me. That's the Italian New Yorker. So
I
I
love
got
it. You're probably saying it right. I'm probably just saying it wrong.
No, we say everything wrong, but we believe in our heart of hearts that it's right. So
it's Mario.
It's Mario.
Now that I interrupted you for that when you were on a roll, keep it going, Mark.
No, it's just so like that camaraderie of, like you said, even before online gaming was like brought to light and available. Yeah. That, like, sitting down in front of the TV with the N64 with like your siblings, with your friends, and just like competing, and like it was
without a care in the world,
and like there were like neighborhood competitions of like different games, and like bring your own controller, and not as much as like LAN parties as like it evolved. I wasn't too much into that because...
See, I have done one of those. And this was, I mean, it was years ago. Yeah. But I remember like we were all sitting in the one room and we were on like different screens. We had our own like computers and like just play. I think we were all playing Fortnite, actually, to be honest with you. But I've only done it one time. But it was a lot of fun. Party. Yeah, it was fun.
Usually you hear like Halo LAN parties or like
Call of Duty. I'm pretty sure it was it was definitely Fortnite.
Oh, so that was more recent.
Yeah, it wasn't super long ago. And I thought that I have never done something like that, and I was like, no, I have. It's only been once, but it was fun.
Yeah, no, it's like I said, and it's honestly, as much as online gaming is fun and you have that same camaraderie, to have the person next to you who you're playing or playing with, and you have that like you just beat this game moment, it's great. Or I just beat you. It's awesome. But the one thing you have 100%, but the one thing you have to watch out for is screen cheating. You can't split screens, like people are looking at what you're doing. Those
I didn't think about that. I would do that. I would cheat. I'm gonna admit it right now.
Where are you looking at like your half of the screen to see where you are on the map, and like, how'd you know it's around that corner? Are you looking at my screen? No, I'm not. I'm looking at yours. I'm looking at mine. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm not even gonna lie. That would be me.
Oh man,
I have a really good peripheral vision. Like, I'd be shooting the entire time.
Man, we gotta watch out for you doing split screens.
Don't do that with me because I will cheat.
And it almost brings you back to the old time like arcades, playing games like that. Yeah. It's you're just at this machine, someone else walks up and you have that. So like the split screen really brought that back like to your home, so you didn't have to go to an arcade. So it really was a fantastic time of gaming. And then it led into the online gaming, which I think took that and said, you know what, if you can't have that split screen moment, you can have it with your friend that maybe moved or life took you in there, but you can still have that moment of we're gaming together and it's like we're kids again. So,
and I hope I never grow out of that anytime in the near future. Honestly, I know people will say, "Oh, you're gonna game forever." I might actually. Yeah. Like that's kind of the plan. But I did want to. You were talking about arcades, and I feel like there are still arcades around. Maybe not as popular or heavily visited, but I feel like I mean, you see them online floating around, and there's some pretty impressive arcades. But I mean, when's the last time you've been to one?
So I've been to a lot of barcades.
Okay.
So they're bars that you have a good time. You get a drink in your hand, and they have all the retro games that you played when we were kids. And you would pay one price at the door, and you would just play all these games for free. You didn't need quarters or nothing, and you would just have a blast. And they had like the old Ninja Turtles game, Trapped in Time.
Ninja Turtles.
Just you'd have that game, but then they also had different like Xbox, PS5, like they had those systems on big screen TVs. But I wouldn't want to go for that because I can do that at home. I want these retro games that take me back to that childhood.
Dave and Buster's is what they gave us. You know what I mean? Like that's.
I
That's
enjoyed
what we
Dave and
got.
Buster. I enjoyed Dave and Buster's when it was adults only.
Yeah, it's a little, but it's a little
That's
expensive for stuff that we could just do
100%,
at home.
100%. But
Then,
it's fun to go out and do those things.
yeah,
But like it's kind of like you want to be able to do these things where like you can kind of be a kid yourself.
yeah.
And it's definitely hard when it's like 1:00 in the morning and you have little kids running around and you're like, I just want to play Mario Kart, but this kid
Get
won't
out of
get
the
off.
way.
Like, this is my time.
It's your bedtime. Go.
This is
Where are
my
your
time.
parents?
They're the ones playing Mario Kart next to them, and you're looking at them like.
But I guess. But see, we can relate that. Chuck E. Cheese is still floating around, by the way, because I took my son to it not that time. They don't. They don't give tickets anymore.
Oh, everything's on the card. Everything's on. Yeah.
I was so disappointed. I was like, we're not going to get to carry around a stack of tickets. But for kids today, I mean, that's their thing, and we had our things too when we were younger. Like
those tickets were amazing.
Like stores that we used to love. I used to love being able to go into the mall and go to like KB Toys.
Oh,
do you remember KB Toys? They had the best
KB
stuff,
Toys.
and I feel like I'm a little disappointed, a little devastated that I'll never be able to like take my son to KB Toys or
I'm like, a Toys R Us kid.
Toys R Us, yes.
I am a Toys R Us kid.
Yeah. Like,
and
I'm so disappointed he will never get to experience that.
No, going into a toy store as a kid, it was like, it was heaven. It was heaven to walk into those stores and you would see what section you wanted to go into.
I feel like the shelves were so tall. And there was like, or maybe we were a little too, but I felt like they were
That's true too.
So tall. And they're like everything you can ever imagine.
I knew the layout of every Toys R Us that was in my area. I knew exactly where I wanted to go. Like, I was walking in there, like, the new Spider-Man toy just dropped. It's back to the right. The girl section is in the left. The baby section's all the way in the back.
You still remember it?
100%. I could give you that whole store layout right now in my head. I see it perfectly.
In my head, I can picture like KB Toys, but I could not tell you where everything is. So I'm actually really impressed that you still remember where everything
I can remember where
Toys R Us.
Yep. You have to browse and really like look at things like, is this going to be better what I originally had in my mind? But you normally just go with the original toy that you had in mind because that's something that you've just wanted for months. So I will say New York is a very fortunate place because it had one of the most famous toy stores, and I got to visit that a couple times when I was a kid.
And which one was that?
I've FAO Schwartz.
I've never heard of that. I've never gotten a chance to go to New York, which I'm sad about. But
have you seen Home Alone 2?
Yes.
So that toy store that he goes into is FAO Schwartz. They call it a different toy. They call it Duncan's Toy Store, but it is FAO Schwartz. So
I am going to go back and watch it. I'll be like, Mark's been there.
Yes.
He went there.
Huge, elaborate toy store. And it has multiple floors. And one floor was just for all the girls' toys. One floor was for Legos. Like, it had these crazy Lego sets and these people.
So it's almost like going to the mall, but it was just
a straight toy store. Yeah.
I'm kind of upset that I never got to experience something like that.
Insane Lego, like, pieces that people built. Like, they had King Kong on the Empire State Building, and it was all made out of Legos. It was insane. And in the back corner, there was a candy store. So, like,
even
it was
better.
Yes.
Two birds with one stone is all I'm hearing.
Child's heaven. You would go get a toy. And they had those giant, like, stuffed animals. But these weren't just regular stuffed animals. These were like $500-$600 stuffed animals that were huge and like life size, and it was insane. But FAO Schwartz
I'm jealous.
was an amazing toy store, and it was one of the most famous toy stores for that reason. So
but then it's like kids today are never going to get to experience that. Or like when we went to Blockbuster, nobody will understand the joy of like, it's Friday night and you're going, your mom and dad or your, whoever you're with are driving you to the freaking Blockbuster, and you're like, you already knew what movies, you had a list of movies that you wanted, and boy, you had to get to them quick and because they were already gone. And you got to pick your candy out. when you got to the register, like,
So Blockbuster, let me ask this question. Were you also hit with as many late fees at Blockbuster as my family?
I don't think so. I think we were like pretty good about returning them and
So
like on time.
I think my Blockbuster was just so disorganized in my neighborhood because we would return them on time, but we
Yeah.
would do the quick drop, so we didn't have to technically go in.
Oh,
But
yeah.
they wouldn't check the quick drop for like a day or so, and they'd be like, "Oh, this is late," and like we would have to fight with our Blockbuster all the time about late fees, even though we returned them on time.
Yeah.
But that was the beauty of Blockbuster. You could go in, you didn't know what you had an idea of what you wanted.
Oh, yeah, but you had to look at everything.
You weren't guaranteed it because it could have been rented.
You remember walking up to the front to see if someone had returned it? Do you have this movie? You're going up there because you have all the empty cases, you know?
So I'm going to bring it way back.
Okay.
And do you remember having you rented a VHS of a movie that you wanted, and on it would say please rewind, and they were never rewound?
Oh yeah, you had to rewind. Never. Yes.
But the worst part is if it was a movie you hadn't seen or you were waiting to see,
and it picks up at some weird part,
or you just had to rewind it through the whole movie, and your whole family had to like cover their eyes so they didn't see the movie.
You didn't see anything in reverse.
So like VHS, like, and I know if all the young people that listen to it are like, VHS, what's that? It was a struggle. That's what
the greatest invention ever made. Like, I would love to still watch something on VHS, and you can. I know you can find some floating around, okay, or if your family has some in storage somewhere, but it's not the same. It is not the same
because it's not on that big tube television, and it's the one thing that my cousin had that I was jealous because my family didn't, and I don't know why we never did. He had a machine that wasn't hooked up to the TV, and it just rewound the tapes, so you wouldn't ruin the movie.
I know what you're talking about.
You would just put it in
the little rewinder.
Yep.
Yes.
But we never had that. I don't know why we didn't have that because it was a great invention.
I feel like we might have had one, even though I don't vividly remember it, but I remember it from when I used to work in healthcare, and they still had a VHS, like the whole shebang, and we had one of those. I was always rewinding the VHS tapes at the work. I'm like, get these people an upgrade or something. Like, come on.
DVDs, come on.
Yeah, but like we were watching, but they loved it because we were watching like Happy Days. We were watching like Elvis stuff all the time, so they didn't care.
So at a certain age, Blockbuster came into gaming, and they had games you can rent, which was awesome. But it also, I mean, I can't get into trouble for it now because Blockbuster has since closed down. But my my friend and I definitely. So PS2, right?
Yeah,
you had the disc.
Yep.
And as kids, you wouldn't necessarily.
PlayStation 2. You had
that's
right? But that was later, right? You couldn't.
So like when it got big, when Blockbuster Blockbuster was pretty big into gaming, but like when we would go to Blockbusters not for movies anymore, but for games. Like my parents would rent a movie and I would rent a game. So PS2, that's what we had at the time when we really got into this. So with the discs, you maybe as a kid didn't take as good care of them as you would you would now. So my friend and I may have had this system, and I would love to hear if other people did this too. But we would rent a game that we had already that the disc didn't work, and you would swap it out, swap the discs, and return the messed up one, and they would never know because it's not like they checked.
Yeah.
They would never.
I never did that, but that is a great idea. But see, when I was younger, I learned a little hack when I was younger, and I can't remember who taught me about it. But when you have discs and stuff that would skip because they have scratches on them, toothpaste.
Yes.
And you'd rub it around the back, and then you'd wash it off like in the circular motion under like cold water, and it would play perfectly. I used to get so excited to show people. I'm like, I could fix it. I could fix it.
We had to do that because Blockbuster actually started to catch on, and like we got in trouble for it. So
Did
like,
you?
not like they were just like, what happened to this disc? And we were like, I don't know what happened to this disc. Like they didn't say like you switched or anything, but like they were like, all right, well, we don't want this. We don't want this to become a pattern. So like we had to cool it down. So we had the toothpaste was one thing, but then we bought like this whole like cleaner. Like,
they used to have.
Yeah.
Did it even work really though?
No, never worked.
The toothpaste
Nothing worked. Nothing worked better than an N64 blow, and then give it.
I like our instinct. Just
yep. Now, did you know on the cartridge itself it says "Do not blow" into cartridge?
No, I don't. I probably never even paid attention to that.
Neither
if I did, I don't think any of us cared. But I remember on the bottom the writing.
Do not, and everyone was like, "Please."
We all did it, and it all worked. So I don't know what they were talking about.
Yeah,
I don't know. They just wanted us to have to buy the new games that replace them. That's what it was. That's what they got scared about.
Nintendo. That's why you lost the console wars. Okay.
Yeah. You know, I'm actually surprised that GameStop is still around. I know they do so many more things, but like, I know they get all the new releases and stuff, but you know what I mean? Like trading in the games and like do people still do that? Really? Well, I feel like nobody goes there for that.
No, nobody goes there for that. Nobody goes there for that only because one, you get
nothing
ripped off for trading in your games. Two, most people, so they don't have to worry about damaging the disc and not being able to play the game, digitally download. And it's not like you get anything special anymore.
No.
For pre-ordering.
Sometimes, but
sometimes, but
not often.
But a lot of the times, like if you pre-order through like Xbox, PlayStation, or Steam, whatever you're on, you get that same content that if you pre-ordered in the store. You may not get that map or that decorative piece, but you can also just buy that later.
Yeah, or sometimes you get little bonuses, like if you're on PC and you're on Steam or something like that, towards a future purchase and different things. So, you know, it has its perks. But
100%.
I'm actually surprised that they're kind of still going. But I don't know for how long. I mean, they've been around for a while, so I'll give them that. But not as good as they used to be by any means.
Not even close. Not even.
Gosh,
close.
What are some other stores that I feel like we used to go to that aren't around? Like Kmart.
Oh, Kmart was. I used to hate it going into Kmart. Except
really.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't like shopping. I'm not a shopper.
Well,
but
to be fair, most guys don't really care about shopping. You know,
I'm not a shopping guy. But the only thing I would like to do is Kmart had a little toy section in the back.
Yeah,
and then I would always bother my mother or father to take me to Little Caesars. That was attached to my Kmart. And I know I'm a New Yorker. It's a sin. It's Little Caesars. But I was a kid. They had slushies. Leave me alone.
They used to have some of the best food in there. You'd sit down at the little food court. Their little. I said food court. It's not like a court. It's the one little place. But they had some of the best food. But again, we were kids, so it probably really wasn't that great. But it was.
No, it wasn't.
And I feel like it was always a little dirty in there. It was like old and dirty, but it was like the best thing. Like,
it was great.
Sit down and get like a hot dog or something.
That was so good. Like I said, even though like Little Caesars isn't technically pizza, at that point when you're spent 2 hours walking around Kmart,
it's like the holy grail of food.
Yeah, you looked at that Little Caesars and your eyes opened up and you were like, I'm getting me a slice and a slushie. Like, leave me alone.
Which I feel like, actually, I'm not going to lie, it sounds pretty good right now. I could go for it.
Yeah, I don't know if I can go for Little Caesars anymore.
No? You'd be surprised.
I would.
Get hungry and then tell me later.
Fair enough. I'm not going to say no. Like, if you put it in front of me, I'm not going to be like, no. But like,
all right, what other stores can you think of? Do you have any in your mind that you used to go to that you feel like just aren't in existence anymore?
Let me see. Like Kmart was a big one that went away.
We said our Toys R Us. We had KB Toys.
See, I saw something recently where, like Toys R Us like released like a tweet or something.
Yeah, you can go online now or something like that.
Yeah, but
that's not the same. Open a store.
But it was like a meme where like Jeffrey the giraffe was like, everyone's saying they're a Toys R Us kid, but nobody supported me, and now we're closed. And I was just like, damn, Jeffrey, like I support.
Throw us under the bus, like, because again, everybody wants to get everything online.
Yeah, Toys R Us was the one place I wouldn't mind shopping.
No, I'd still go there. I'd be so excited to take my son there.
I still went there, and I don't have like.
You don't have to have a kid to go there. They have some cool ass shit.
I was in my 20s before they closed, and me and my friends would go in there all the time, just like for fun.
They have cool stuff in there. What about?
Absolutely.
Oh gosh, do you remember like the record stores, like Tower Records, or I'm trying to think. Radio Shack. Even remember going to Radio Shack?
100%. Radio Shack. I've only been into a Radio Shack a couple times.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I didn't go a lot, but I just remember like Radio Shack, and they don't even exist anymore. And I think that Blockbuster, isn't there still one in Oregon? It's like the last remaining Blockbuster store.
Yeah, there's one in Washington State somewhere, and he literally goes to like Walmart and buys like all the $5 movies so people can rent them, and he like and that's how he gets his movies, because it's not
so
like
there's more than one.
No, it's just the one.
Oh, it's just the one.
Yeah, just the one left, the one final. And he's
that makes me want to go. I feel like I held onto my Blockbuster card for so long.
I'm afraid to go because I'll probably get hit with a late fee that's like $10,000 at this point.
Like, you haven't been here in like 20 years.
We're still looking for The Pest starring John Leguizamo, and you need to pay this late fee.
I don't know. I feel like the statute of limitations got you on that one. I think you're okay.
Right? I feel like, but you never know with Blockbuster. They hold on to things. They hold on to grudges, I feel like. Netflix killed them.
Yeah. And now everybody's mad at Netflix.
Oh, well, they deserve it.
You can't share your passwords and stuff anymore.
They deserve it.
You're in the same household.
You know what? Netflix needs to remember where they came from, and there were mail-in movies. So
yes. Oh my gosh, I remember that when that became, and then like Redbox.
Yes.
Too.
I never did a Redbox. So
I did very few times, but I was not a fan of it. But I remember when they when they had their subscription, and you would to Netflix, and you would like, they would send you the stuff, and you'd watch it, and you'd put it back in the little envelope, and then send it and like drop it off.
You would make a list. Yeah, you would make a list, and you would get one movie, watch it. I
almost forgot about that.
Send it back, and you get the next movie on your list. It's not like you had a whole.
I feel like it didn't last for very long.
No, it had to have been like after they got rid of all the Blockbusters, they started to branch out into, you could watch this straight on our Netflix streaming website, and then the app came, and then they got real greedy with that, and because they were the kingpins of the movie streaming, and now all of a sudden you can't share passwords, and
there's so many more places popping up all the time too. There's so many other ones, like, and that's the thing. I feel like we're seeing the demise of cable TV.
Oh,
if you think like everyone streams everything, I've gotten rid of it. I feel like I have like their app now, but I don't even need that. I keep it around because certain shows people in the house like to watch, but otherwise I stream everything. I feel like that's where we're at now, which again is kind of sad too, because it was such a big deal. Like when you had when you first had cable.
Oh yeah, no, like, when you like first like realized how many channels you had, and then you had to deal with like the old timers, like, we only had 2 channels. Yeah, I'm sorry. we don't.
In black and white.
You know what the remote was? It was me, and my parents would throw their slipper at me when they wanted to change the channel or raise the volume. All right, we get it. But
I'm picturing the antennas. Gosh, do you remember, like, we're going back to, because I remember like the antennas, and you'd have foil on the end for
we had
to get a better reception.
Like when the screen would get all fuzzy and everything, you'd walk up. Well, first of all, let me preface this by saying our TVs were juggernauts compared to the TVs that these people like that we have.
There wasn't
today.
Nothing breaking one of those.
No, when that screen would get shaky or fuzzy, you would walk up to that thing and like, smash the hell out of it, and like if it didn't work on the first hit, like you had 3 more coming before your hand started to. Your hand would break before the TV would break at that point. It was incredible.
And then when you got like the big screens.
Oh, the ones that like you were so proud of, but all your friends hated you, not because you had a big screen, because they just lifted it up the 3 flights of stairs.
But I feel like when you were little, it was like, oh my God, we're so rich. Look at this big screen. And it's like the biggest, bulkiest shit ever. Because I remember my grandma having one at her house and I loved it. Like, look at the big screen. I didn't have that big of a screen. Like,
no. I had, especially in my room as a kid, I had literally this TV was smaller than the monitor I'm using to talk to you on.
Yeah. They're like 19 inches or 20, barely like 20 inches or something like that.
Built-in VCR. That was the one good thing about it.
Like, I remember those.
Built-in VCR, so like that was it. But other than that, like this thing was literally smaller than the 2 monitors I have on my desk.
Oh, you're gonna laugh at me because in my room for the longest time, and I'm taking it when I want to say it's been like, okay, like maybe 9 years, but still, even 9 years ago in my room, I had one of those bulky ass little TVs. It did not have the VCR in it, I don't think, but it was just like, you know what the little buttons at the bottom. And then eventually I was like, you know what I'm going to get? I'm going to get me like I got my little flat screen. That was like my first one I put in my room. And this was like 9 years ago. And that's horrible. But I'm not sure. Like in the living room, I had like the big flat screen, but in my room, I had that little.
It's
horrible.
It's all right. Cause I mean,
it might have been more than 9 years ago, but I'm trying to think back. I'm like, okay, I've lived in this place for how long? Like it wasn't super long ago. Yeah, I didn't. Then I finally got my little flat screen. I was so excited.
No, but those TVs meant business. Those like I said, carrying those things in, carrying them out, like
no.
That's why we're so strong as a generation. We had to carry those things up and down.
And now we get to tell our kids, like when you remember growing up and your parents would be like, I had to walk to school in like 5 feet of snow. There and back, you know, and for us, it's like, look what we had to live. We had to carry these around. Like, this is our story to, you know, our children.
You see that TV that I can lift with one hand? You couldn't do that when I was a kid.
You have no idea.
The pain and struggle we had to go through.
Oh, man. I feel like this was a nice trip down memory lane, I feel.
Oh, absolutely.
There's so many stories. And I'm sure, like, the list is so much longer, but I thoroughly enjoyed talking about that. I can't see this is what the 90s kid podcast is all about. Okay.
Oh yeah, going down those nostalgia sweet memory lanes. Like we had better candy. We had. Let's go 90s.
I feel like next week we have to talk about holidays. I'm gonna throw it out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Holidays then versus holidays now. It's a discussion. I'm gonna be ranting.
I'm down.
Look at that. You guys got a little sneak peek into one of our topics for next week's episode. So make sure you tune in next Wednesday. But no, Mark, I had fun. I feel like this is only our second episode. And I mean, look at us.
Look at us just flying through, just breezing through.
Yeah. And maybe we let Mark kick off next Wednesday's episode. How do you feel about that?
Oh, the pressure. Now I have a whole week to mentally prepare to kick off next week's episode. Oh, yeah. And right before you hit record and all the butterflies, you're like, whoo. Oh, yeah. All gone. Yeah. Well, I will say this week, like I said, I got some criticism for last week about calming down. And I feel like this week I really got into my I think you did great. For your first ever podcast ever. I think you did amazing. And it's only, get off his back. And it's only going to get better from here because we're going to have more fun. We're going to be more relaxed, you know? Oh, yeah. So stay tuned. We look forward to you guys joining us for next Wednesday's episode. And we hope that you guys enjoy this one. And if you don't, we're going to kick your butt because it was really damn good because we had a good time recording. We had a great time. Be sure to follow us on all our socials on Twitter, on Instagram. Follow us on there, get updates, see clips of the podcast, see this beautiful video recording of the podcast on our... look at these faces. Look at come on. And where can you guys can hear us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and iTunes. Well, maybe we're still working on that one. But we're still working on iTunes. Give us a minute. Okay.
Yeah, it was giving me a little difficulty, but we're gonna get it. We're gonna get on iTunes too.
Excuse me, iTunes. Okay.
Yeah. Android.
Relax. Okay, relax. Don't.
He's like, oh, a debate?
We can get into that topic.
Oh,
also
no.
next week. All right.
Oh, damn.
Don't even get me started on that one.
Our first debate show.
Yeah, 2 things you don't want to get me started on: Apple versus Android, and why Rose is the worst villain in cinema history.
We have to talk about that.
We do.
Stay tuned, you guys.
Stay tuned. Interesting conversations coming up.
Oh my gosh, they have no idea what they're in for. No, I don't even have any idea what I'm in for that one, but I'm excited.
I gotta tell you, you have no idea what a rant is until you hear an Italian rant.
I'm up for it. All right, guys, we're going to close out this week's episode, but we had a good time, and we will see you guys next week.